Welcome back to Not So Pro Football Talk. We're coming back at you another Monday, another video, another live stream. So keep on tuning in every single Monday, 6 p.m. We are always here. Today, the title of the video is Should Daniel Jones Get the Bag? I'm honestly for him, man. Hey, get paid. I hope he gets the most amount of money as possible. But we're going to be evaluating his gameplay, how much we think he is worth, and all that type of stuff. Before we get into all that, let's do a quick recap of the week. There's been a lot happening, especially in the NSL and XFL. XFL.
XFL, yeah.
There we go. It's very exciting. I didn't watch any of the games just because I was I'm not gonna give it the time of my day yet. Grieving that the NFL is over. Maybe eventually I'll tune into the XFL. But Vincent, did you watch any games?
I did not, but I watched some highlights for two of the games. The one with the Brahmas here in San Antonio, watched those highlights, as well as the Seattle Sea Dragons.
Yeah.
We barely lost, but I mean, it's pretty cool seeing Josh Gordon and Ben DiNucci over there fighting to win some games. So it's pretty cool. I think I might tune in next week for sure.
Very nice, very nice. I know AJ's going to come here later crying about his San Antonio team, the Brahmas, about what happened to them. But we're going to be maybe potentially talking about the XFL a little bit this offseason just because it is new, it's exciting. I'm very much hoping for the success of it. It would be really cool to see football year round. That would be really, really cool. So hopefully that happens. And hopefully some of these guys that end up on an NFL team, I think if we start seeing some of these guys get taken up into the NFL, then it builds more stability in that league, and people will take it more legitly. So I think they got a great leader in The Rock. I think it's very, very exciting. But we're gonna go ahead and move in to the video. All right. So before we start talking about all the money, should he get paid this? Should he get paid that? All that type of stuff. Let's talk about him as a player, him as a human being, him as the starting quarterback for the Giants. What has he done? He has had 4 years. He started his rookie year back in 2019. He came in on Saquon Barkley's second year in the league, and he's been their quarterback really ever since, kind of taking over after Eli Manning stepped down. And his overall, as far as a quarterback win-loss stat, and I'll say this right off the bat, I do not think that is a good stat to put on quarterbacks, but it is a stat. And then nonetheless, his overall win loss ratio is 21 to 21, 31, and 1. Not that great. Could be worse, though. He arguably had the best season in his career this past year with, 20 or 15 touchdowns to 5 interceptions, 3,200 yards, etc. Not the greatest stat line ever, but it is not bad either. So we're going to be talking about all that type of stuff. So I'm going to go off right off the bat and say he hasn't had the best career. He has not. It has been up and down throughout his career, and there's been a lot of up points and a lot of down points, in my opinion. Now, I don't think all of it is his fault, really. He hasn't had the best supporting cast ever. With one of his best wide receivers is a guy who never touches the field, never does anything for the Giants, is Kenny Galladay, which the Giants went out and paid the guy. I think they took him from the Lions in free agency and signed him to this big multi-year, multi-million-dollar deal to be their number one wide receiver, and he has not produced. And because of that, as the Giants' failure of capitalizing and bringing a guy in to help Daniel Jones, it has very much actively hurt Daniel Jones not to have a number one wide receiver on the team. He's really only had Saquon Barkley in the backfield to help him out, and he has looked shaky. Obviously, he had a very great year last year, Saquon, but overall, it hasn't been looking exactly very. He doesn't have a great supporting cast. Offensive line has looked shaky over the years. Wide receivers, we had Sterling Sharp, Kadarius Toney, Darius Slayton, John Ross. These are some of the guys he's had. Evan Ingram over the years, and it really hasn't come out to really help him in any way possible, really, unfortunately. So, I don't put all the blame on Daniel Jones. Daniel Jones has really tried his best. I think he has a very good personality. I think he has pretty good quarterback IQ, but he hasn't had a great wide receiver core around him or great tight end. He's obviously has a pretty good running back behind him with Saquon, but overall, it has not been the cast to help him succeed. Now, if you put a number one wide receiver on the team, let's say Stephon Diggs, Devontae Adams, Tyreek Hill, you put one of those guys on the team, I think that would really help boost his stats, boost his confidence, and really help him start rolling. So, my end all analysis on Daniel Jones is that I don't think he's a bad talent. I think he's very talented. I don't think he has also shown us that he can do it all either. He just hasn't. In his career, he's thrown 60 touchdowns to 34 interceptions. It's about a 2-to-1 ratio, and it's just not that great in my opinion. Especially with how much he wants to get paid. There was a report today. Let me pull it up by who. Dove Kleiman reported this. He's an insider for the NFL. He isn't the best source of information. He is wrong sometimes. But overall, he does put out some good information. And he said the Giants offered Daniel Jones a multi-million-dollar contract, but it wasn't enough for Daniel Jones, reportedly. He wants more, possibly as much as $45 million per year, which puts him, I believe, around like 9 and 10 as highest paid quarterbacks in the league, which is a lot in my opinion. So that's the report that came out today. How accurate is it? I'm not 100%. But it's really to be asking for that much is a lot of money. So Vincent, what are your thoughts on Daniel Jones? I kind of talked about how I think he isn't the worst guy out there, but he also hasn't had the best a supporting cast around him with wide receivers, etc. Obviously, he has Saquon on his backfield. But what do you think of Daniel Jones as an overall quarterback?
Well, let me get into the fact that for over the past few years, I've liked Daniel Jones and the Giants. I just think he hasn't had a lot of supporting cast. So I'm glad that you brought that up, because the past few years, I think the Giants have done well with what they've had. I feel like they were more defensive hungry in the drafts. They got Saquon, of course, 5 years ago, and Daniel Jones 4 years ago. What's up, AJ? How's it going, man? But yeah, definitely, I think Daniel Jones has done good with what he's had. But his stats are kind of meek out there, you know. It's not the best, but again, going back to that fact that he hasn't had anybody to help him out, pretty much revolving wide receivers, everybody's injured throughout half the season, if not more. I think Daniel Jones has done great. Do I think he deserves $45 million? We'll get to that later, but Daniel Jones has done good for what he's had.
I like that. AJ, you just joined in here. What are your thoughts of Daniel Jones overall as a quarterback? We're not talking about money right now. What do you think of him as a quarterback?
I think he's mediocre. I don't think he's proven anything. I think he's coming off his best year this past season, and he finished off with. I see what you're saying, Vince. I see that nod, but he comes off with a 67 QB rating, and that is his best out of the entire year. And yes, I do believe the Giants have screwed him the first few seasons. He was dealing with injuries. He's on that carousel wide receivers because they can't stay healthy. And now they finally have a head coach that knows, that has a plan on what he wants to do. And here comes Daniel Jones trying to screw everything up. Those are my thoughts.
All right. So, a lot to unpack there. Ultimately, we don't put all the blame on him, but he also hasn't shown much to make us believe in him, unfortunately. So let's go into the contract side of things. Now, I just said a little bit earlier ago, apparently the Giants have offered him a deal. We don't know exactly the number that they offered him, but apparently it was not enough for Daniel Jones. He has reportedly been wanting up to $45 million a year, which is a lot. I don't have it on the stats for me as far as top highest quarterbacks in the league, but I know it starts off at the top with Aaron Rodgers, Deshaun Watson, etc. I think Russell Wilson is up there. I think 45 million puts him around 9 or 10 off the top of my head. So I don't know if I can justify him getting that much money. But the thing is, we're in this really crazy time in the NFL, I think, where players can just demand these things, and you as an organization have to figure out, okay, are we going to give into these demands and hope it's going to pay out for us? Or are we going to say, Daniel Jones, we're either going to franchise tag you or let you walk into free agency, whichever one, and then have to go find out a new quarterback. You have to go find a guy through a draft. You have to go trade for somebody. You have to go sign somebody. And that puts up even more uncertainty out there. So they have two or three options here, what they can do. But ultimately, Daniel Jones, unfortunately, in my opinion, is probably the best bet for the Giants moving forward. Now, how do they get back him on the roster and at the appropriate price point is going to be the hard point. Guys, what are your thoughts on this?
You want to go first, Vince, or you want me to crack down this door?
Okay.
Crack it down, man.
First off, I want to say, did y'all discuss the change in managers yet? In agents? What I meant to say?
Oh, yeah, he changed management or agent companies or whatever.
He did change agency companies. And the players, the quarterbacks right now who are signed with that agency, you got players like Aaron Rodgers. You got players like Dak Prescott. You got players like Deshaun Watson. Enough said. Those guys are getting paid top tier money. All of them, except I don't think they all deserve that type of money. Aaron Rodgers, more than likely, out of all of them, because Deshaun hasn't proven anything, but he got the money. Yep. Dak Prescott, he's on his way out of Dallas Nation. I don't care what anyone says. He's out of there. He's not worth it. And then you have Daniel Jones, who had his best season so far, 67 overall rating. Who's going to pay that money? Are the Giants? I don't think the question is Daniel Jones going to sign with another team? I think the question is, are the Giants stupid enough to sign Daniel Jones for that much money? I think the Giants should call his bluff, him and his manager's bluff on paying him. No one's going to pay him. They should just tag him. That's what they can do. I know they can't tag him and Barkley, but I think Barkley is more of a investment than Daniel Jones. And I know he's a running back. I know their lives aren't long, but as of right now, I think you have better luck in the QB market when it comes to free agents and rookies coming out of the draft.
All right. I like that. I think before Vincent goes, I think really quick that you can get the type of stat line Daniel Jones is putting out with a rookie quarterback, unfortunately.
Oh yeah.
That's what I was just about to talk about. I like the fact that AJ brought up Patriot Gabe says pay Daniel Jones. Oh, I don't know about that one, Gabe. But I just want to talk about Bramless, yeah, for sure. But Saquon Barkley, I think AJ hit the nail right on the head there. You get Saquon right over anybody on that team. Whoever's having contract deals this year for the New York Giants, they want to keep him. They come after Saquon because Saquon had his best season since he was a rookie. And it's one of the first seasons where he's healthy the entire time. So I think Saquon is their number one free agent, if you want to call him that. He's the only guy that has a rookie deal or the fifth option where he's going to get paid or he's going to leave. So I think Saquon is the guy they focus on. That's why I don't think Daniel Jones is going to get paid $45 million. I don't think he's even going to get franchise tagged. I think they walk from him and they draft someone out there just to go with the flow. I know they've said that he's our guy. You know, they said it in January, I believe, or it's December. He's our guy. We hope that we can keep him. We hope that we can go forward with him and build around him. But really, they're just trying to build right now. Daniel Jones just fits the mold as one of those quarterbacks to get you by until you can get back to Super Bowl competitive levels. But for him, fortunately, he made the playoffs. He won a playoff game. They haven't done that since Eli Manning. So I think he put himself in the perfect spot. So kudos to Daniel Jones. I think he will get paid somewhere, but he's not going to be getting $45 million this year. And if he does, then that changes the landscape of quarterbacks and what everybody
yeah.
should get paid so much.
I know.
Go ahead,
I know
AJ.
he's somewhat young, right? But let me just compare to quarterbacks who's going to be looking to similar amount of money, but are older that have more experience. You know, I'm going to throw my guy Jimmy G in there. We also got this other guy named Derek Carr, which a lot of people still think that Daniel Jones is better than Derek Carr. I don't think so. I think he's going to do great in that type of system, especially with that head coach. He has a plan. He knows what he has to do. Now that Daniel Jones is asking for all this money, it kind of ruins all their plans on building up a team. Right? You're not being a friendly QB. I get this might be his last big time contract in his career, but what's more important, getting the money or making a bowl? Am I right?
I agreed, but not a lot of people think like that, unfortunately, AJ. Not
I
a lot
know.
of people do. Trust me, I got Aaron Rodgers, my quarterback. He's like, why aren't you keeping all these players? All my friends are leaving. You took all the money, you jerk. But
Jeez.
but we're talking about, will he get franchise tag? Will he get the big money? Whatever. I'm going to just break down some numbers for you guys. So right now for the 2023 franchise tag for a quarterback, it is $32.5 million. That is on this cap this cap year. You cannot push that out. That is hitting in 2023. Now, if I don't think that's a really great option for them, unfortunately. You can try to hit them with that and just get a 1-year deal, see if you want to keep them after this year. But I don't really like that option, unfortunately. I think you either need to let him walk in free agency and see if he gets a higher offer. If not, he's going to come crying back, and then you can sign him to a smaller deal. Or you pay him the 4 or 5 year deal for $45 million a year, probably. And you could put a smaller cap hit this year and push that cap out, which is a lot of people are doing right now in the NFL, and put in somewhere in there a get out clause or something like that, like kind of like what they did with Derek Carr and the Raiders. They signed him to this humongous deal, and then 7 months later they ended up cutting the guy. Say, we don't want him. We're getting rid of this guy. So I think that's probably something they're going to try to do. I don't know if Daniel Jones is going to be up for that. Derek Carr decided to bet on himself, and it ended up backfiring, unfortunately. Will Daniel Jones do that? I don't know.
Look at the agent. I want to go back to the manager of Daniel Jones now. The new management team, I believe they're called Athletes First, is
so,
the company. Yeah, look at the contracts with Aaron Rodgers, with Dak Prescott, and Deshaun Watson. Those guys are loaded full. That there's not going to be any soft spots. This company gets their guys paid, and that's exactly why Daniel Jones went there. Because someone, I think his mom, called him and said, "Honey, you got to know your worth." Right? But you know how your mom tells you when you're young, "Oh man, you're so handsome, you're my handsome boy," and in reality, you're ugly AF. That's the type of deal that's going on right now with Daniel Jones. He's not that great, but someone told him that he's good. But I want to put this out there, okay? Daniel Jones went through all this trouble to get this agency, and then you have a quarterback who's going to be a free agent, Lamar Jackson, because he does not have a manager. His manager is his mom, which is called a momager. Okay, now there's reasons why players have managers. So now they can't come to agreement. Leaves what? Another QB open. And he could be seeking something very similar. Of course, it's going to be a little bit more, but I think they're on the same boat. They both haven't proven anything. I get it, right? Lamar Jackson, he won MVP. That was years ago. What have you done the past couple of years? Daniel Jones, you won in the playoffs this year against a team that I said that they weren't going to be jack crap since the beginning of the season. I called it. I said the Vikings were going to be anything. And now he won a game. So what? You're not going to get paid for that.
Wait.
I'm waiting for you to
Wait.
Keep it moving. Keep it moving.
Rewind it for a second.
Keep it moving.
What'd you say about the Vikings?
I said it. I called it since day one. They ain't going to be jack crap, dude. All right. So what? Big old whoop. Giants beat them. They weren't doing anything this season. Right now. Come on. Let's keep it moving, guys.
All right. We'll keep it moving. Okay, Jay.
So just to keep it moving, I'll say some of the quarterbacks who are free agents right now, besides Lamar Jackson, who can slide in to the New York Giants.
Say it, please.
I just think there are so many out there. Literally, there are like 30 on the free agent waiver wire, whatever you want to call it. So here are some guys who can put up the same numbers as Daniel Jones. One, Baker Mayfield can do it. He's not good, but he can put up those numbers because face it, they're the same quarterback. They're
He'll
mobile.
throw more interceptions.
Yeah, he'll throw more interceptions, but he'll get more touchdowns in my opinion. Because 15 and rushing for 7, okay, maybe he won't, but I mean Baker Mayfield can probably throw more touchdowns with the team that the Giants have. Here's another guy right now. I think, of course, Derek Carr. We talked about Derek Carr. There's Gardner Minshew. With the
Yes.
stash, baby.
Yes, sir.
About him in my last episode. I don't know if y'all saw it yet, but Gardner Minshew is one of these guys who can make it in the league. He's not playing for the XFL right now. He's waiting to get a contract in the league, and I think he can do it. Here's another guy. I got one more guy. Let me look for his name out here. Nick Mullins.
Oh, I love.
Louises.
And I do want to give you a shout out, Vince, real quick. I love that you called him out in your last Seahawk video. That was awesome. Appreciate that.
Yeah, he's just a good quarterback, and I think CJ Beathard's out there too.
Yes.
So there's a lot of quarterbacks out there that I'm not naming that are at the same level as Daniel Jones.
And cheaper.
And way cheaper. Yeah, you could get one of these guys like how we got Geno Smith and Drew Lock on $5 million and lower for both of them. You just got to get some guys.
On that topic, everyone's sleeping on this guy who the
Just keep it moving.
Okay, everyone's sleeping on Cooper Rush from the Dallas Cowboys. He is also a free agent who's proven himself in 5 games last year. He was 4 for 5. Who's played phenomenal. It's going to be extremely cheap, and he will put up better numbers than Daniel Jones because he is the same style of quarterback, and he has, I think, 2 more years of experience or a year more in experience and cheaper. You could do that. You have the 25th pick in the first round this upcoming draft, so you get an inexperienced QB. This is a big QB class, so you can't. It's hard to miss here with inexperience. Develop someone. Why not? What do you have to lose? Right? You go out there, you save that money, you make some moves on some wide receivers, adjust some few offensive linemen. Your defense is pretty decent, and then you start having a quarterback and understudy. Right? You develop. Now you guys are looking at a team for a future. You sign Daniel Jones, you guys are done for the next decade. Guarantee it. Guarantee it.
All right. So I think we can all agree that he's probably not worth $45 million a year. I think we can all agree that. Now we're gonna play a little imaginary game. Okay, let's use our imagination. Yeah, the little SpongeBob thing. Imagination.
Can you edit that?
We'll try to do it in post credit. All right.
Okay.
All right. So we're gonna play a little imagination game. Let's say we take one of the top wide receivers in the league. All right. Let's say that's next year he gets paid. They still have somehow enough money to sign a big name wide receiver. Let's say we put Devontae Adams, Stephon Diggs, Justin Jefferson, one of these type of wide receivers on the Giants. Daniel Jones, Saquon Barkley is back. How do you think Daniel Jones does? What's his stat line?
Same.
There's no way you think 15 touchdowns and 5 interceptions.
I think it comes down to the offensive line, and I think that's what they're going to address this offseason. But now that he wants all this money, it's getting a little difficult because they need to address multiple positions and not just a wide receiver.
Okay.
Because you had Kadarius Toney, who didn't do anything with the Giants, and now he looks like an all-star with the Chiefs.
He's a splash guy in the Chiefs. That's not blow him up too much.
No, he is. No, he is. But you also had a lot of wide receivers that just got injured, So, I mean, he's had talent in the wide receiver position. Just unfortunately, they get injured. But the fact of the matter is that he doesn't have time to get the ball to those guys because his offensive line just can't hold up, which this is a league where offensive linemen are very scarce. So this is why you need the money to address that or to use your draft picks, especially the 25th round. That's a prime spot for the best offensive lineman in the draft. And you can't because Daniel Jones wants to do this, and that. It's a very selfish football there.
Okay. Vincent, what are your thoughts if you take one of the top wide receivers in the league and drop him on the Giants?
So he'll get a tiny bump. But I think when you have a wide receiver of those calibers there, the throws get a little trickier. So these guys get played better with cornerbacks. They get double teamed, and Daniel Jones is going to throw way more interceptions if he has a star wide receiver out there that is solidified in the NFL already. Because with those names at those wide receiver positions comes a lot more expectations because those guys put up numbers with everybody else. So he's got to put up numbers with you no matter who you are. So I think if Daniel Jones and the Giants can possibly get a decent wide receiver who's like a decent name out there, I think his stock bumps up better than if they get a solidified star. So they just need pieces to stay healthy. I've said it like the past 2 years for them. They need to be healthy to win. And this year they kind of proved it a little bit, but they're still not that team that is fighting for a championship. They're just a team that is on the right track to do that one day.
All right. I personally think that did not go how I thought it was going to go. I personally think he would have a little bit better stats. I would say maybe 25 touchdowns, 10 plus interceptions, in my opinion. That's why I think if he had a top tier wide receiver, because he had no names out there really, in my opinion. So that's my thoughts. But anybody have any last remarks on Daniel Jones before we give our official statement on what we think is going to happen with Daniel Jones? Any last comments you want to make about him?
I do want to make another comment
Go
just
ahead.
because of the topic that we're on. I just really quick looked up the top free agents for the wide receiver position, and I see one guy that I absolutely adore ever since he came into the league, and I love him for the Giants because he's so young. I'm talking about DJ Chark. He's going to be a free agent. I think it would be a perfect fit. He's not a guy who's an all-star type of player, but he is capable of making all-star moves and all-star plays. He is a playmaker. Get the ball in his hands, and he will make something happen. If they can make an addition of him and get a decent tight end on that team, I think you have a offensive weapons there. I think you have offensive weapons where you don't have to rely on Saquon Barkley every single play, and then you could address the offensive line.
And that's opportunistic this year because the draft is stacked with tight ends. I think there's about 5 tight ends that they're predicting that could slide into the first round. So it's pretty crazy. But one thing, my last comment on Daniel Jones is obviously he's gotten better. He's gotten smarter, not better. I'll change that. He's gotten smarter. His interceptions are down from 12 in his rookie season. His fumbles are down from 6 in his first season. And he only had 5 interceptions this past year, 2 fumbles this year. And of course, that's why they're saying he's been more efficient. But has he gotten better? No. So that's why I stick with my guns. I don't think he's going to get paid like that.
All right. Okay, so our last statement on him. What do we think is going to happen? Does he get a bigger contract? Maybe not up to $45 million, but does he sign a multi-year contract with the Giants? Does he get franchise tagged and get a $32 million paycheck that the Giants cannot push out into the future? Or does he test free agency and we see what happens? Vincent, you go first.
I'll be generous. I think he's going to get about a $28 to $32 million contract if he stays with the Giants. If he leaves, I think if he gets put in the right system, like if he goes to the Texans, they're needing a lot of help. I think that he could help rebuild them a little bit. He's not their future QB of the future, of course, but another team is probably the Las Vegas Raiders. They need a new quarterback, whether they draft it or they go out in the free agency period and get one of these guys who's on the waiver wire for them. That's my range. I say 28 to 32. I think that's what he's worth. I think they could slide in maybe a 2 to 3 year deal with that, but nothing more than 4 or 5.
All right, AJ.
I think the Giants cave in. I think there's a lot of pressure on the head coach. If I'm not mistaken, I do believe he's the one that won the Coach of the Year award. So there's a lot of pressure on him. He has to keep it up. And in his eyes, in his coaching, he doesn't want to fix something that's not broken, right? So I believe they cave in. They fall for the bluff. They give Daniel Jones a 4-year contract, anywhere between 35 to 38 a year. And that's them for the next 4 years.
All right. I like it. I'm also going to agree with AJ and Vincent a little bit. I think the Giants were signing him. I think there's a potentiality out there that he hits free agency, but I don't see them letting that happen. And I think they secure Saquon and then at the very worst end up franchise tagging Daniel Jones. I don't see him really hitting free agency. We'll see how much they cave into Daniel Jones' demands. I don't think he has, with his stat lines, a lot of room to say, hey, I'm one of these type of guys.
No.
I would, at best, give him an incentive type of deal where, hey, you get MVP, you get $10 more million. Like that's gonna happen, you know?
Yeah,
That's what they did with Gino.
I know, but
You hit these marks, you get more money.
Yep.
I doubt their agency is going to accept that.
Yeah.
We'll
Just
see.
because
We'll
of his
see.
track history. I would love to see that happen because it makes the most logical sense for the Giants. And I want to see the Giants succeed, even though I hate them a lot, referring to back in 2010. But past is the past, you know, F them Chiefs.
All right. So at the end of the day, I don't know about AJ. AJ apparently hates Daniel Jones, but I hope he gets the most amount of money possible. I hope he gets paid, all that. Any last comments you guys want to say before we end it?
I don't hate Daniel Jones.
Okay, it sounded like it a little bit a while there.
No.
I want to make one last comment as I stare at his stats over here. I'd rather have rookie Daniel Jones than the Daniel Jones that they have now.
That was the closest he had as far as rating. I
Yeah.
saw that.
Yep.
Yeah.
He had a
Freaking
good
crazy.
year. He had a good year. All right, so that's where we're going to end it. Let us know down in the comments what your thoughts on Daniel Jones. Is he worth it? Is he not? Is he trash? Is he not? Let us know down in the comments. We love to hear every single thing you guys have to say, and we respond all the time. So go ahead, like this video if you enjoyed it. Subscribe to us at NSP. We got a lot of cool content coming up in the off season. It's not time to go to sleep yet. The NFL is alive and well. All right. So until then, we'll see you guys next time. Keep on grinding.